Hey friends, I hope you're fine. If you're new here, my name is Anna and my videos are all about minimalism, slow living and personal development. And because personal finance is a big part of our life, I try to make some videos about all the things that help me to be on track with my finances. So don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like. So today I want to talk about no spend challenge. So first of all, what is a no spend challenge? For a certain period of time, for example a week, a month or even a year, you decide to not spend money on things that don't seem necessary. So obviously you need to pay your bills, you need to eat and you need to put gas into your car, but you don't spend a dime into things that don't seem necessary or that you don't need. So whatever your rules are, you can decide to create an emergency fund, you can decide to save for some holidays, you can decide to pay down debt, you can decide to break your spending habits. This one is a huge one, and you can also decide to break the paycheck to paycheck cycle and so much more. Okay, so the first I did a no spend challenge was I think 2 years ago. My main goal was to reset my spending habits because I spent too much money on clothes, on every other things, and at the end I had zero in my bank account. And my last no spend challenge was in January this year and it did pretty well. I was surprised to not spend at all on clothes, on shoes and so on, because here in France January is all about sales. You can be sure that I find something to buy. I know, bad habits, but not this year, and I'm so proud of this. So it wasn't the clothes, it wasn't the shoes, it wasn't all the accessories or whatever, it was the food. And because of food, the no spend challenge wasn't completely a success. So here are the things I wish I knew before my no spend challenge. Okay, so the number one was to be more precise with my why. For my last no spend challenge in January, my why was to get back on track with my finances. I spent a lot of money at the end of last year and it was Christmas too, so there were a lot of gifts, and because I earned more in this period of time, I didn't budget all the gifts that I will buy, and it wasn't a good idea. So I wanted to get back on track, and the best way to do it for me was to do a no spend challenge. And I have to be honest, this why is not enough for a whole month without spending. Actually, in the middle of the month, when I saw all the money in my bank account, I was like, okay, so I'm not on track right now, and I had still 15 days to complete the challenge. So this why wasn't sufficient enough, and I needed to switch my why in the middle of the month. So I needed another why. I've decided to switch my why and to invest all the money that was left in my bank account to an investing account. It worked. I was so motivated to see my saving account grow. If you want to do a no spend challenge, you really need to have a big why. You can decide to save for holidays, like you want to do a big trip and you know that it will be really expensive. You can also decide to save for an emergency fund. It's a huge why and it's really necessary, but if you just want to get back on track with your finances, I don't think it's necessary. You just need a budget. So what is your true why? Do you want to break your spending habits? Do you want to create your emergency fund? Tell me in the comments. Number two was to be clearer with my rules. So before doing a no spend challenge, you need to have rules. So for me, for example, it was to pay bills, it was groceries and public transportation. So no takeouts, no clothes, no books or whatever, nothing else. So if I'd paid for something that wasn't bills or groceries, it was a spent day. But because I did the challenge alone, so without my boyfriend? Was it a spend day if he paid for a takeout? Yeah, I didn't know. Or was it a spend day if I bought my mother gifts for her birthday? It wasn't clear, and most of the time, especially for takeouts, when my boyfriend paid them, it wasn't a spend day. Okay, it wasn't my money, but yeah, it's weird. I didn't know it. Number 3 was to prepare my expenses in advance. So as I tell you, January it was my mom's birthday month, and because the end of the last year was a very expensive period, I waited until the last moment to buy the gift. I consider it as a spend day. I think that, yeah, I was in this kind of rush and I didn't budget it, but it's really something that I needed to prepare in advance. If you need to pay your car insurance, or if you have other birthday during your no spend challenge, try to prepare this, try to put some money aside for these expenses and try to budget. And during this month I also have surprised in my bank account, because I subscribed to things in December and it was free for a month, but then I didn't have an alert to tell me that my 3 months was expired, so yeah, I needed to pay. And when you have a no spend challenge, you have all the money that stay in your bank account and you're like, yeah, it's really good, and then you have an expenses that you don't really expect, and you're like, oh no. So yeah, I had this kind of surprise when I did my no spend challenge, and I was really angry. I was really angry by myself. Whatever. What is great to do during your no spend challenge is to see all of your subscription and to delete all the unnecessary subscription you have. I did this, I feel better right now, but yeah, I don't want to have surprise anymore. The number 4 was to know what I have on my pantries before going to grocery. There is something that I noticed during my no spend challenge. I didn't check what I had on my pantries before going to run errands. So I needed to go back to the shop several times a week to just buy 1 or 2 things. But let's be honest, you don't run errands for just 1 or 2 things. You take some bread, you take some things for breakfast, and you take this little cute bottle of kombucha. And at the end you spend more. Yeah. And because groceries were an approved spending, it was okay. But when I saw this kind of pattern during this month, I've decided to use everything that I had. So for a week I only create meals with what I had on my pantries, and actually it worked very well. So try to use what you already have and you will see a huge difference in your budget. Okay, so the number 5 is to prepare my free time. And this one is a huge one. Okay, so I would not spend a day for a month. But what would I do instead? It's a really important question actually. But it's not a question I ask myself before my no spend challenge. And it's a question you need to ask yourself. The idea is to create a to-do list, or a list of all the things that you need to do or you want to do, and all these things are free. So for example, you can decide to declutter your wardrobe and to sell the clothes that you don't want anymore. You can decide to cook, you can decide to read all the books that you have on your shelves. It's what I did and I don't regret it. You can walk in nature or whatever. But you need to be prepared for these activities, because if you are like I was, my free time was all about checking websites of clothes or fashion brand that I like and put every piece that I loved in my wish list. I will try to prepare a video about other things that you can do that are free, other activities that you can do during the weekend or in the evening that don't cost a thing. Finally, the last one is to see this experience as an opportunity and not as a punishment. When I started my no spend challenge in January, it was because I spent too much money at the end of last year, and I was like, okay, so I need to get back on track and I need to put everything together about my finances, so I will not spend a dime for a month. And I was like, okay, it's a kind of punishment because when I want to have a Starbucks coffee, it was a spend day, but actually I really needed it to feel better. Even if most of the time I make my coffee at home, sometimes at Starbucks it's different. I had spend day and it was like a punishment, but actually, yeah, it don't have to be. But actually it was more an opportunity to get back on track, to break my spending habits and to save for my retirement, actually. Okay guys, so if you want to see what I learned during this experience, what I spend during this month and everything around this no spend challenge, I have a whole blog post on my website. I will put the link in the description box below. I try as much as possible to not spend on things that I don't need, but I can't do a no spend challenge for a year. I prefer to have pretty kind of a low buy year, but not really a no spend year. But yeah, if you try for a week or for a month, it's really great, guys. So I hope this video will help you to ask yourself the right questions before doing a no spend challenge. I see you in the next one, guys. Bye.